Hello, everyone, and welcome to PSA's Let's Squawk About It. I'm your host, Sam Schaefer, and today we're excited to have the program coordinator for the Department of Poultry Science at Texas A&M University. Please welcome Lesley Gleason.
Hi, everybody. How's it going?
We are doing as good as we can in these times, Lesley.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, with the new year rolling around, it was like you were crossing your fingers for it to be like different, but then the sameness wasn't that bad. So I understand. We are all surviving amongst the craziness in our world for sure.
We all understand what you're talking about. We get it. It's been a rough last year, and hopefully we're looking forward to a better one this year. As we kick off this first episode of PSA's Let's Squawk About It for 2021, Lesley, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what's your experience with poultry?
Well, thank you for having me. First of all, it's an honor to sometimes get outside of the world of Texas A&M and remind ourselves there are people, out there. So yes, my name is Lesley Gleason. I am a program coordinator in the Department of Poultry Science, like you said. I actually am a graduate of our department. So I received my bachelor's degree in poultry science at A&M back in 2008 and went on to graduate school to work at a college. I really, decided I loved everything about the industry. There were so many opportunities that I was exposed to, but I felt that passion to work with college students and help them develop, the skills to get those jobs. So ended up in a graduate program at Oklahoma State, and my path just led me back here. So I actually worked on campus at A&M for about 5 years. And the position for a program coordinator here in the department opened up, and I was like, this is a sign, like where else am I going to use a poultry science undergrad and a student affairs master's? So I, of course, jumped at the opportunity. As soon as I got back, I remembered what I loved so much about this program and this department. I've been in this department for 5 years now. I was originally hired to kind of take over the academic advising. I definitely love that piece of it, but it's really opened the door for me to focus a little bit more on career advising, connecting people from the industry to our students, helping them build the soft skills, right? We hear a lot from industry that it's great to have students with, degrees, but what else do they know? What type of leaders are they? How do they communicate? So we've really kind of changed the shift of our mindset, in my position at least, to really focus a little bit more on getting the students connected and helping them prepare for, the real world upon graduation. So that's a lot of what I do. I also work with our former students and try to keep them connected to our department and helping them stay connected to our students. And then I also help a little bit with social media and things of that nature. So it's funny because you say like, what do you know about chickens? Most people laugh when I say, well, I have a bachelor's degree, so I know the basics, but if it's too complicated of a chicken question, I'll just say, oh, that's a master's degree level question, or I don't have my PhD. Like I wouldn't know that answer. So it's funny because I can relate to our students. Being a former student, I think has really benefited me in this position because I've been there. I've taken the classes that they've taken. I've questioned, should I go into the industry? Should I pursue outside opportunities? I think there's a lot of our students who are, thinking through those same thought processes. So.
You've been in the position that the students you're helping out are in, but then you've got the academic side too that helps kind of pave the way for them to go forward. So that's why we're super excited to have you on board for this first call, because we're talking about why students should consider going into poultry science. So what we would like to first touch on is, why is poultry science an area of study a student should consider when identifying a major?
So, it's funny, so we also do a lot of recruitment, obviously, in our positions as program coordinators, myself, and there's another program coordinator here, but most people don't grow up thinking, I'm going to go major in poultry science and I'm going to go work in the poultry industry. It's not one of those like, I'm going to go be a football player or a teacher or a businessman. It's kind of this random path that people end up on. Most kids, it's not career progression or a major choice that a lot of people think of. At our university, we're a freestanding department. We're one of the 6 remaining poultry science specific units who issue a bachelor's degree. So we also have an animal science department. And so a lot of people, think, well, let's go animal science. But it's really a great opportunity for people to dive into a program that's more specific like ours, because the career opportunities are just incredible. It's one of those things that as a 17-year-old, when somebody tells you that a program has 100% job placement, you're like, that's cool. But until you really become an adult, right? And you get to that point where you're the one looking for the job and praying you don't have to move back home in with your parents, you really start to process what that means, And so for most of the students that we talk to, that we recruit, that we have the conversation with, that's really the number one piece that we bring out is just the career placement. There's more jobs out there in the poultry industry than graduates with specific degrees like ours to go out and take those jobs.
It's a good problem if you're a student, but it's not a great problem for industry.
That's right. That's right. And so that's why programs like ours are so important, because experienced individuals who understand the vertical integration of our industry and what it's like to raise poultry and to work in the food industry. It's really important that the industry has programs like ours to rely on. The other thing that I don't want to overlook is our program also has a vet school route, meaning that a lot of students that we recruit come here because they want to be a vet. And of course, everybody who's 14 years old and loves animals is going to say, hey, I want to go be a vet. Well, of course, everybody does. It's because they don't know about all the other jobs that are out there. But our program actually, by doing the basic curriculum of a poultry science degree, they can also knock out most of the prerequisites to apply to vet school. And so there are multiple routes at A&M that you could use, majors that are good options. But a lot of people don't think about ours as being a route to get to vet school. And so a lot of the students that we end up recruiting to join us in poultry science have plans to be a vet. And as we probably both know, they start taking chemistries and they start taking biochemistries and they start taking those tough sciences. And academically, they go, man, this is tougher than I thought it was. What else is out there? And then they land on their backup plan, which is a fantastic backup plan of you're going to join an industry that has 100% job placement, So it's really neat because a lot of students end up in our program, I would say kind of on accident or by fault of my original plan was this, but I ended up here. But they end up in career opportunities within our industry that, again, are fantastic.
Definitely. And one of the biggest benefits is you're going to have that one-on-one feel, and you're going to feel like you're not just a number. You've got connections within your department. You know the right people to talk to. They know who you are. Your professors know who you are. And that's an added benefit that comes extremely in handy.
Oh gosh, I think until you're in an academic environment like that, you kind of don't even believe those places exist, especially at an institution like our size. I mean, there's 60,000 plus, close to 70,000 students at Texas A&M. And, it's easy to become a number and it's easy to get into programs that you don't know who your advisor is. You don't know your department head. You don't even know who it is that's going to help you get an internship. So yeah, we definitely promote that family feel. All of our faculty, all of our staff are here because we want to help you succeed. We want to connect you. And yeah, the networking piece of what we are able to do here, I think is hard to find.
And to kind of go off the family mentality and the small class sizes, the one-on-one factor, I mean, that kind of bodes well to the poultry science community as a whole, because it is a very tight-knit group, kind of like we've established within the association and through other interviews here. A lot of people know each other, and that becomes beneficial later on.
Yes, we always joke about never burning a bridge with our students because you have an interaction with someone and here we kind of joke too, be careful with who you're friends with in college because they'll be your boss, or they'll be your boss's boss, or something.
Or they'll be hiring you.
Exactly, they'll be on the interview panel hiring you. So I think there's so much to that is reflective from the industry down to a department like ours. Probably the same for the other departments that are poultry specific.
Before COVID, you guys were doing all this stuff, and obviously it was successful in recruiting new students. I mean, you guys doubled your admissions and undergraduate students. What kind of things were you guys doing before COVID and
Uh-huh.
hope to do after COVID? And then what kind of things have you been doing during COVID?
Sure. I think as far as that goes, in theory, when this all started, we thought, well, not much is going to change. We'll really be able to keep that connectedness to our students. We'll have to find new avenues and new ways to do that, but we can do it. And of course, as everybody has, it was a lifestyle adjustment. I think the benefit when you talk about the family feel of our small department and connecting industry people to students, it's easy when an industry person is walking into your building and shaking a hand of a student. And so we really had to, and I'll be honest, for about 6 months we weren't good at it. We were failing. We were going, man, this is harder than we thought it was going to be. And so I think over the last 6 months at this point in the game, we've really sat down to explore just virtual opportunities. How do you meet people where they are? We've always had a great industry presence in our classes. We've always had former students and industry professionals volunteer to come in, tell their story, give advice to the students and things of that nature. And moving virtual, while at first we were like, well, that's just going to shut that down. It has opened so many doors to us that you wouldn't have even imagined. In a class that I was doing last semester, we were able to have an individual from Aviagen in New Zealand, a former student of ours, join us to talk to that. Would we have ever been able to bring him here in person? Maybe, but it really has opened up the window for our students to really connect to some new people. And that has been a benefit. I mean, without a doubt.
It's all a learning curve for all of us.
Oh,
And
man.
by the time we come around to having it as perfected as we can get it, it's going to go back to the way it was before.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So next up, kind of shifting gears, we talked about your recruitment efforts, how you guys are doing amid COVID and everything, but I want to talk about the students themselves that you recruit. How do you look at making poultry science appealing to a variety of students, whether they grew up in agriculture their whole life, or this is an urban kid, somebody from the big city, but has an interest in agriculture?
I think there's a perception that anybody who is going to major in poultry science, one is going to go be a chicken farmer. That's the most common comment that you'll get, or that I got when I was a student. Lesley, what are you going to go do with that? Be a chicken? Well, maybe there's a good possibility. But there's also perception that everybody has that experience of poultry coming into our major. And that is not true at all. We have students from backgrounds who have no poultry experience. Our goal in this program is to teach students about the industry and expose them to networking opportunities and learn. And so whether we meet a student who has raised broilers for 10 years through 4-H or FFA, or we meet a student that has no agriculture background because they didn't have the option to have that in high school, for us, it doesn't matter. We're bringing them in for them to learn from square one. We kind of joke that, our intro course is going to start at this is a chicken and this is an egg, and really work its way up from there. So,
which may sound silly to somebody who's grown up on a farm their whole life, but at the end
Sure.
of the day, the goal is to get all of these people on the same level.
And really to make our students educated consumers too. It's not just about, getting them into the industry, but we want any student that rolls through one of our classes to learn something, to bust a myth of something that they have heard about poultry that may not be true. I think agriculture in general, there's all these, perceptions. And for us to be able to, educate our students to go out and even be just a good consumer and to know the difference when they're looking at a poultry product in the store and to see the labeling and to be able to differentiate of what they're purchasing. I think there's so much that some people would consider basic who have poultry experience, but it's really not. For us, it doesn't make a bit of difference if you know about chickens or you do not. Our goal is going to be to expose you and to educate you and then send you into a workforce that, again, when you get there, is going to re-educate you and re-expose you because, I think about myself and what I learned here in our department. I learned a ton about poultry and food safety and all of the things that go along with it. But when you enter the workforce, it's a completely different ballgame, and you're gonna, and it's in any field, and so So I think for us, again, we try to meet students where they are. A lot of our recruitment efforts are in poultry specific places, but likewise, they're in a lot of, urban areas where students probably, possibly may have never seen a chicken or know the difference in a broiler, in a layer, in a brown egg and a white egg, things of that nature that are very basic to some of us. But, our goal is to educate at all levels.
Poultry is for anyone and everyone, and it's a family
Yes.
environment. And I think you guys' recruiting efforts for the way you're handling that from students from all aspects of life answers to that calling. So, yeah.
Thank you. One of the other areas I was going to say, a lot of our urban areas are what's pushing those students to us who also want to go that pre-vet route. Maybe they don't know that much about poultry, but they know they want to go to vet school. Well, that's where we kind of step in with those urban students and really have that conversation of, did you know that you could use a program like ours to get to vet school? And, talk about some of the benefits and things of that nature.
Before we wrap everything up here, I do want to say, if you could summarize maybe in like a couple sentences, what is the best thing about being a poultry science student?
Well, all of my students would joke that I can't summarize anything in a couple of sentences, but I would say this. I think the support system that students gain by getting into a program like ours is uncomparable. I think that having a department that truly cares about the students like we do, and again, that just filters down from the industry. It's just, we're an industry of good people, and our department tries to kind of follow that suit, and so I think a lot of our students that get here fall in love with what we do because they don't feel like a number. They feel like a person. They feel like they have opportunities to go out and make an impact through their career, and because there are so many directions that they could end up in, and again, I think there's a perception for that to not be the case, but we have fun too. I think it's when you work in something like poultry, there's always a joke, in your pocket. Everybody has a poultry science. Tell me about that, or did you mean
Happily.
political? Did you mean political science? No, not at all. It's funny because in the course listings of things, we're right under that. So it's, POLS and then POSC. And so there's all kinds of jokes, but we try to have a good time. We as a department are just like the industry too. We like to let our hair down and get to know each other. And again, that's unique because in a department like ours, I could tell you where most of our students are from, and for the most part, probably what their parents do or what they were involved in high school. And, that's not everyone's college experience, but, and that, to be honest, that's why I came back here. I wouldn't have ended back in the poultry department without having the type of experience I did as an undergrad and really feeling like the doors were open for me to go do what I wanted to, and I was going to have a support system behind me. I can't speak highly enough of our program and the importance of programs like ours across the nation. We all do this for the same reason, which is because we care about students and we want to link them to a great future. We want them to have better jobs, than we do.
There's a lot of passion behind what you do, and I've encountered that from a lot of poultry scientists. And to me, that just says this is the industry, this is poultry science, this is the community of people. And I think that's being relayed in the undergraduate level with the students that you're encountering and who you're bringing on board, and you're showing this career path to. I think it really sets them up well for what they can expect out of a career in this field. So I think that's fantastic. I hope that, if there's a student out there that's considering poultry or hasn't even heard of poultry, but is now like, wow, Lesley sounds cool, or the Poultry Science Association sounds cool. I hope that this is helpful to that student out there that may be considering a career in this field. So thank you so much for being on today and talking about, why should you go into poultry,
Yes. Well, thank you for having me again. PSA is an important communication, that link between the communication that's getting out. But I would say again, if there's a student, or a lot of our references get to us because of somebody in the industry, an industry professional knows a kid in their community that they think could have an interest. It's really important that you help us, get those students to programs like ours. And, I would say doing campus visits and things like that are not off the table, with COVID. If we do it safely and appropriately, we can. And then, of course, we have tons of virtual options to be able to meet with students, prospective students on Zoom and show them around in virtual tours and things like that. So, even in these crazy times, there are ways. We don't want students to think that, oh, college is, it's just not, it's different now. Yeah, it is. But, it can be still a great opportunity for you to get plugged into a program like ours.
Things are different and out of the normal for right now, but it's just for right now. Things will come back to normal. But one thing I can say is that the Squawk About It that we're doing right now is here to stay. We've gotten a good response out of it out of the last year. So we're excited to continue it again for 2021. And once again, Lesley, thank you so much for being on today. We're hopeful that this helps some students out there.
Thank you, Sam.